YouTube appears to be working.
Yay!
Yeah.
Oh, you're back, Andrew.
Let's go over to the main voice channel.
Yeah.
Go. Have some caffeine first.
Yeah, I've got some here.
I think I got the wrong place.
No, I don't know what happened there. It just... I'm not...
Rather than moving myself, I accidentally moved the channel.
There we go. I'll just share my... Shall I share my screen on here as well? Just in case YouTube has a moment.
Work fine, I need to tweak it.
Hang on. Just in case. There we go.
Yeah, that with some baby stuff. Families. Clothes.
There we are.
And stuff.
Okay. So everything working all right?
You'll be next, Joe.
Huh?
You'll be next.
Nah, while off.
So is everything set up all right? Everyone can see everything?
Looks like the YouTube's working.
Nice. Okay. We'll just give everybody a minute to join in and then we'll get started then.
Hi, Jack.
Yes, hello, Jack and Liz. Welcome back. Just give everybody a minute to join in, and then we'll make a start then. How's everyone doing? Yeah, that's fine. No, sorry, no worries. That's absolutely fine. So you should find, Trace, that code will probably only work with one ladder. So you won't be able to kind of like have several ladders stacked on top of each other. There are a few tutorials that you can use on the GameFruit website. I'm not sure if you can see my screen now, but if you go to tutorials, intermediate resources, and I think, if I remember rightly, I'll just check for you. I think it was in GDC Platformer 103. Let me just... yeah, there's the first step in that is actually how to climb ladders. So if you find that bit of code's not working, or if you want to try having like multiple ladders, have a look at that tutorial and that should give you a hand with it. Okay, so I suppose we'll make a start now, just as everybody's getting settled in. So, like I said, welcome back to another session on GameFruit. So this is going to be our last session now on GameFruit before we move on to looking at something new next week. I thought I'd just take an opportunity to ask. I know a lot of you already responded to the message I put up I think it was a couple of days ago now, on the idea of us maybe moving on to Minecraft. You know, you don't have to reply now, but sort of throughout the stream, if you start to if you think that would be a good idea or something that you'd like us to definitely do, please sort of let us know, because it is something that we are thinking about doing. As long as you all have access to Minecraft education, we should be able to move into that either next week or the week after or something like that. It's just let us know sort of in the chat today whether or not you think that's something that you'd like us to do. As Andrew's put, you should all have access through Hub or some other sort of method. So if you've all got access to Minecraft education, then that's definitely something we'll hopefully start doing from next week. So just kind of let us know if that's something that you'd like us to do, and we'll start looking at that. So, as I said, this is going to be our last session on Game Fruit, and the plan for today is we're just going to add in a few little sort of details that are just going to round off the games, so kind of finish them off, make them a little bit sort of more like a real-life computer game by having different levels, you know, different things like that. We're going to add in a couple of new items to the game, and then hopefully by the end of the session, we should have an opportunity to cover a few bits and pieces, like have a go on playing each other's games, so you can share the sorry, remix links in the Discord chat, or you can share the file equivalent of your game in Discord, and we'll all kind of have a bit of an opportunity to play on the games that we've been working on over the last few weeks, since this is the last session. So first thing that we're going to add in today is we're going to add in a little bit of code. It's only a couple of blocks, which is just going to actually prevent our characters from falling too far off the map. So you might remember at the moment what happens is if you fall off of your map and you kind of go beyond the scope of your floor, you will find that your character continues to fall and fall and fall and fall, and it doesn't actually end. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to add in a little bit of just a few blocks of code that's going to prevent our characters from actually doing that. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go back onto our character script, so back into the character script, and when that loads up, we're going to move our way over to the constantly loop, which we've got at the top of the screen here. So like I said, what we're going to do, we're going to add in a couple of blocks of code which essentially are going to say that if we're falling at a certain speed, we would like to reset our playable character to sort of being back at the start of the level again. So that way it doesn't just continue to fall and we have to sort of do like a hard reset of the game. It just lets us actually restart the game automatically. So what we're going to do is within this constantly loop, we're going to add in a new if statement. So to do that, as we know, we can go to control flow and we can add in an if statement. And just a reminder on sort of what if statements do. The idea is that we're telling the computer if a certain condition is true, then we would like it to execute a certain bit of code, okay? And if the condition is not true and false, then we could have it run a different bit of code. If it was an else if or an if else, we could have the computer run a different bit of code if a certain condition is true. Or, as we're going to do now, we can just have the computer continuously monitor for a certain condition to be true in order to execute some code. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually check to see how quickly our playable character is actually moving along the y-axis. Okay, so how quickly is the character falling down the y-axis as the game is being played? And if it exceeds a certain value, then what we can do is we can have the character go back to the start of the level again. So we're going to take a block out of the operators menu, which is this Boolean one here with the equals sign, and we're going to change this equals sign to being greater than. So essentially we're going to be checking if our y velocity is greater than a certain speed. So from the physics menu, we can simply just take from the motion section this velocity x block, and we can replace that x with a y, and then we can see how we have to decide how quickly our playable character is falling. Now we can have a look at the value in which the playable character is falling through the debug menu. So if you hit the play button, I've found a bit hit and miss sometimes whether or not it actually appears. But if we hit that play button, what we can find is on the debug menu, it does occasionally tell us how quickly our character is falling. Now, it doesn't always display it for some reason. However, you can actually determine how quickly the character is falling sometimes. But what we can see with this green arrow, this green line here, I'm not sure if you can see it, I know it's a bit juddery, is that we're quite clearly falling in the downward direction. So if we just close that now, and go back to our character script, we can change the speed in which we're falling to a certain value, and the sort of average speed that's been determined for how quickly the character falls is actually around 2,000 units. So we can say that if the Y velocity is greater than 2,000 units, then we can go back to the current level. Can you not hear anyone, Jack? That's okay. Can you still hear stuff, Andrew?
I can hear them.
Okay.
I can hear it now.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, wash some bits now.
That's fine.
Okay.
If it goes off again, Jack, just let us know, and we'll I'll pause for you. There we go. Okay. So, like I said, what I was saying, Jack, was that what we're checking is essentially how quickly we're determining if the Y velocity, so the up and down velocity of our playable character, is more than around 2,000 units. Then what we would like to do is we would like to set our character to go back to the current level again. So from the control flow menu, we can choose this go to next level block, and we can just change that to being current level. And all this bit of code is doing is it's saying if our Y velocity is greater than 2,000 units, then we're going to go back to the start of the level again. So if I hit the play button now, you should be able to see on my screen that now if I start moving towards the part of my map where there's no more floor to walk on, and I start to fall, after so long I get put back to the start of the level again. So essentially we're just checking how quickly we're falling, and if we're falling at a speed that's faster than 2,000 units, then I just get put back to the start of the level again. Okay, so that's
Can you count again?
Yeah, I'll go back to the code now. There you go.
Okay, 2 hours. Force it to 2 hours.
I'll zoom in a bit. There you go. So, like I said, we're just using this if statement here so that the computer, which is, by the way, like I said, inside of the constantly loop, that's saying if the Y velocity is greater than 2,000, then we're going to go back to the current level again.
Okay. I think I have that done now.
Okay, no problem. I'll just leave that up there on the screen for a little bit so people can catch up, and then we'll carry on in a second. Remember, if anybody has any questions, just to let me know in on the voice channel or in Discord, and I'll cover those.
I wonder, could you do it by if it's at the edge of the playing area of the game?
You can do. That's. So Alex, yeah, I was just going to move on to that now. Actually, Alex, the bullet issue is something that I'll cover in just a second. So it was actually, I do apologise. It was actually a mistake that I made with the code. One of the blocks that I told you to use was actually the wrong block. So I do apologise about that, and that's the reason why we were getting having that problem last week. So. It's just kind of like, as I was saying sort of last week, you do find, not that I'm making excuses for myself, obviously, but you do sometimes find that you do have bugs in your program. And it's okay that you do have those bugs, because you don't always, it's not always sometimes you don't always get everything right sort of the first time round, and it's okay to sort of make mistakes. So it's like I said, it's absolutely fine. So like I said, I will cover those how to fix that in just a second.
We're only human.
Exactly. We are only human.
You like the GIF?
Yeah, I do appreciate that GIF, Alex. I like that a lot.
We spent about an hour, didn't we?
We did. We spent a lot of time trying to work out where it was, and it was all because of one block. So, okay. So if everyone's happy, we'll move on to talking about that now. I do really like your setup, Jack. It's really cool. Okay, so like I said, we'll just go over how to fix that bullet issue that we were having last week. So if you all want to open up the bullet script, and we'll go over that. So there's a couple of bits that you can change. So there's one or two things that you can change on the script if you wanted to. So if I just cover the bit that I got wrong last week, just so that we can fix that out. So you might find that in the big when spacebar is pressed block that we've got here, we had this, I think the block that we were using was, if I just find it, I think the one I told you all to use was the set X position of myself to 0 block, and we changed that 0 to being a 1. And then for the else if, we had it set to -1. What you need to do is just swap that block out with the set X scale of myself to 1 block. So it's, I'll zoom in on it for you. So this block here that's highlighted in yellow, this is the block that we need to change. So if you set that to, if you change yours to set X scale of myself to 1, and then in the else if change it to set X scale of myself to -1, you should find then that the code works. If it doesn't work, then there are a few other things that we can change. But if you'd like to try that out first, then give that a go, and we'll have a look at that in a second. Hi, Emily. Yeah, so let me know in the chat if you're still having problems after changing that block, and then there's something else that we can try. You sure can, Chris. I'll do that for you now. I'll just move some things around so that it doesn't look so small. There you go. So that's that should be all of the code now, Chris. So Andrew and I did add a couple of blocks. So the constantly loop here we added in because we were finding that sometimes, I think it was, if I remember rightly, Chris, I think in your game the bullet just wasn't firing at all. Adding in this constantly loop should hopefully help that problem. And if you make sure that the code is the same as what you've got, as what's on my screen now, you should find that it's working, that it should work.
I had a problem when, the character tries to choose a bullet. The actual just bounces off character. And these doesn't like no.
Okay.
What's up?
Do you want to put like a screenshot in the chat, Jack, of your code, and we'll
Just send your code to me, and I'll have a look through.
Yeah, Andrew can take a look at it for you.
Yes. I think the only problem with the bullet code in the end was if you stood right next to an object, it would fire through the object. And maybe that's a problem.
Yeah, so I know that there were quite a few problems last week with it, but the code that you can see on my screen now is like should be the working code. So Andrew can take a look at yours, Jack, and then hopefully we'll be able to find a fix for that.
Okay.
I'll leave this on my screen for a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next part in a second.
Hi, Jack, it was a problem with the bullet code, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a look.
Okay, Chris. So when you want to fire the bullet left, it floats in midair, and then okay, okay. So that's definitely that is definitely a problem. Okay. So while Andrew's working on Jack's trace, do you want to maybe put like a screenshot or send your code into the chat, and I'll try and take a look at it on here. Thank you, Chris.
With your character, you just need to assign the code to the bullet to start with. I'm just going to look through the rest of it.
Just taking a look at yours now, Chris. It won't be a second. Okay, let me have a look. Set visibility. Okay, so that one needs to go to false.
And it was the scale that was wrong last week, wasn't it?
It was the scale, yeah. That was the issue last week. False. When created. False was bullet. Okay. Please, bear with me 1 second, and I will get round to that for you. Okay, I found the fix to yours, Fizz. So there are 2 things that you need to change in order to get it to work. So, first thing that you need to change is within your, I think it was inside of your constantly loop, it was either the set visibility of myself block or the set physics enabled block. Either way, whichever one, inside of the constantly loop, both of those need to be set to false. So if you change both of those to false, like I've got on here, that should be one of the first things that you can fix. And then the second thing that you need to change this is inside of your if statement, you need to change the block which you've currently got, I think is set x position of myself to 1. you need to change that one to being set X scale of myself to 1. So change that block to being set X scale of myself to 1, and do that also in the else if, so that you've got set X scale of myself to -1. And if you change both of those, you should find then that it works. And to answer your question on the character selector, Fierce, we might not have time to cover it today, but what I'll do for you is I will link into Discord a couple of tutorials that you could use to build that, and I'll also share my code with you so that you can use that to build it. I think you'll be absolutely fine. It's not too complicated at all, so I think you should be fine in being able to do that. But if you did need help, just post a message in Discord after the live stream today, once I've shared the code, and then I can and I'll lend you a hand with it. Okay.
You hear me, Jack?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so there's a couple of things which are different. I think, as I've answered at the start, there's a few mistakes we made last week. The first thing is we need to assign the code to the bullet.
Okay, that's that. Okay, done.
Okay, and then if you go bullet code,
Okay.
when spacebar is pressed, we just need to set the visibility of myself to true.
So, where will they put that?
So where you, in your code for bullet, where you've got when created, you've got 3 steps from when created, and below there you've got when spacebar is pressed.
And spacebar press.
Yeah, add a new piece of code that says set visibility of myself to true.
Okay, yeah.
Then, where you inside the if statement, this was the big mistake last week, I think, where you got set position of myself to 1 and -1, I think it was. That needs to change to set scale of myself to 1 and -1.
Set scale of myself instead of
Set position.
exposition.
So 1 for the first if do, and then -1 for the else if.
So,
Dan,
Yes,
did you drop the screenshot of the entire code for the bullet?
I can. Absolutely.
Yeah, just so I can talk through one of the bullet. And let me know if you've got that bit then.
okay.
So first, that's also the problem that I was finding in your code as well. Was if you go, I'll post a screenshot in the chat now. So within the if statement, underneath where it says set velocity x 500, and then in the else if it's got set velocity x -500. The block that's underneath that, which is set x position of myself to 1, you need to change that to set x scale of myself to 1. So that's the block that, and you need to do the same thing in the else if as well, but change it to set x position of myself to, set x scale of myself to -1. So it looks like it does on my screen now. I'll also put a screenshot in the chat now. Like I said, this was my mistake from last week, so I'm really, really sorry.
Okay. Really? Jack, the last thing that needs to be changed in your code as well, and this is something we found out after the session last week.
Okay, so
It did this. Does the same thing as what Dan went through, but it was a bit glitchy, so we've changed the way it works. If you look inside, I'll just post the picture of the final code now. Yes.
So the screenshot that I've just put in the chat now is the code that actually needs to be displayed inside of that when the spacebar is pressed block. That's how it should look now. So you'll see that underneath where I've got set velocity x 500, I've changed the block that's underneath that from being set x position of myself to 1 to being set x scale of myself to 1. And I've done the same thing in the bit underneath that as well, which is I've got it set to set x scale of myself to -1. So those are the two blocks that need changing, those two.
I've done that now.
Yes, Andrew.
Can you post the entire code for the bullet, the one you sent earlier to me?
Yes, hang on.
And what you'll see, Jack, in this, the picture Dan will send you now is there's a new loop, which is a constant loop, which has an if statement inside it. I think in your previous you sent me the original answer. It was slightly different.
There you go.
Okay, I got that.
But it's the constantly
Okay.
on the right hand side, the one that has 4 blocks in it. If touching,
I'm going to touch the left side.
if you're touching any sides, then we set the visibility.
Just on this way.
I can't remember how we did it last time. Last time it was causing an issue because it was just constantly touching something, and I don't know why. This
Touching.
smoothly, it was glitchy.
Have you had any luck, Chris? Is yours working now? Oh, super. Yeah, like I said, I'm really sorry about that, everybody. That was my mistake last week.
It's okay.
Did anyone figure it out by themselves?
I couldn't figure it out. First.
No, that was quite a tough one. It took me a very long time to find that. So, if anyone did spot it, well done. It took Andrew. It took Andrew and I were looking at it for quite some time, going, we just can't see why it isn't working. And then we found that I put in one. As soon as it was one. That one block is what was causing most of the problems for us. So, like I said, I am sorry about that.
About it all, I think we found some other problems along the way which
we've managed to fix.
So having things is good during your programming.
Yeah. Okay, is everybody happy for us to move on to the next part now? Super.
God.
If-
Something happened. Yeah, but it works for me.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
What happened is, like, I spawned with it for some reason.
Okay,
So I think it's just a glitch because I'm too close to the whole thing.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
As long as it's working out now, that's fine. Super. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to have a look. We're just going to add a couple more bits and pieces. So we're going to be adding in. We're going to add in a teleporter, and we're also going to add in a few levels. Okay. So first things first, we're going to add in that teleporter. So if you all close down and save your character scripts, and just sort of head back into your main game again, what we're going to do is we're going to choose an object. So from the menu on the left, from that media menu, we're going to choose an object that we can, when we grab it or when we walk into it as the playable character, it's going to teleport us to a new location. So choose a section on your map where you'd like to place the teleporter. So I'm going to place mine on this platform here. I'm making sure that you're on the objects layer. I'm going to choose what we're going to choose. I'm going to choose this to be my teleporter. So if everybody wants to choose an object to be the teleporter, and then just place it in the part of the map that you'd like it to be. And then what we're going to do in a second is we're going to add a script to it so it can identify itself as a teleporting object. So I'll just let everyone pick where they're going to place theirs first, and then we'll move on. There are quite a few different things that you could choose. You could choose an animal if you wanted to, or you could choose an object down from the object section. There are loads of different things that you can choose. Okay, so like I said, what we're going to do now is we're just going to add a script to that object that we've just placed in the game so that we can identify it as a teleporter. So we're going to right click on it, we're going to go to add script, and then we're going to get another blank script come up on the screen. And what we're going to do, we're just going to add in a couple of blocks which identifies it as a teleporter. So we're going to go to events, and we're going to say, like with pretty much most objects that we've had in the game so far, we're going to say when created. And what we're going to do is, again, like with lots of other objects in the game that we've used in the past, we're going to add a tag to the object so that we can say that it's going to be a teleporter. So from sensing and from the tagging section, we can use this add tag name on myself block. And I'm going to call mine teleporter1. Now, the reason that I'm calling it teleporter1 is because if you wanted more than one teleporter in the game, you would have to add a separate tag to each one. So you'd have to say teleporter 2, teleporter 3, etc. as you added more and more of them to the game. So so for your first one, you could call it, like I've done here, teleporter 1, or just something that'll make you remember that that's the first instance of the teleporter in the game. And the other thing we're going to just do is we're going to, from the physics menu, we're going to use the set immovable true block, which we can find from the miscellaneous section. And we're just going to say set immovable true. So that's going to mean that once we walk into that object, it's not going to just fly off of the screen and disappear where we can't get back to it, because let's just say we restart the level and we want to be so for an example, let's just say we restart the level because we fall off of the platform and we're put back at the start again. That teleporter that we've put in will have just floated away because we've walked into it. So by using that set immovable true block, we're going to stop it from from floating away. So that's all we need to say for our teleporter object. So what we can do is we can actually close this script now and then save it. So I'm going to call it just teleporter1. So again, making sure here that I'm naming my script whatever the teleporter is called, or as Andrew's put in the chat there, you could call the teleporter something so that sort of suggests where it's teleporting you to, so that you can remember which is which. And then I'm going to hit save. So now what we've got here is our teleporter object. What we have to do next is we have to actually tell the game exactly where we would like that teleporter to teleport us to. Because at the moment, all this script is doing is it's saying this object is a teleporter, but it's not actually saying where we're going to be going to. So we have to do that by going back over to our character script again. So back onto the character script. Now, if I'm going too fast, remember, just let me know, and I'll slow down. But if we head back over to the character script and go down to the when I am touched, get toucher section, we're going to add a new if statement into here which says what's going to happen when we touch that teleporter object, okay? So I'll just give everybody a minute or so to get caught up with that, and then we'll carry on. Okay, so we'll carry on. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. So like I said, we're going to add a couple more blocks now to this when I am touch get toucher section of the character script, just so that we can say where we're actually going to be teleporting our game to. Okay, Oliver, your bullet doesn't kill the enemy. Okay. Okay, we'll have a look at that. We'll come back to that later on. So we'll have a look at that in a little while. We'll get that fixed up for you. Okay, don't worry. So what we're going to do, like I said, is we're just going to add back to our character script. We're going to add in a little section to that when I am touch get toucher block, which is essentially going to say where we're going to be teleporting to. Okay, so add in a new if statement from control flow, and like with the previous objects, we're going to be saying if instance toucher has tag name. So you could take, what we can do is we can just simply right click on one of the other ones and duplicate it so that we've got another one. And of course what we're going to do is we're going to change the has tag section to being whatever we've called our teleporter object. So of course I called mine teleporter1, okay? Now what we do also have to do is we have to state exactly where on the map we would like to teleport our character to. And that involves using the X and Y axis. So for this, we actually do need that set X position of myself to block, which was of course the one that I got wrong last week. And we're going to need two of these, okay? So we're going to need one for X, and we're going to need one for Y, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be teleporting to an X and Y position on the map, okay? So what we need to do is we need to say which X and Y position we're actually going to be teleporting to, okay? So I'll show you how to do that. So if you close down your character script and just hit save on it for now, if you scroll over to the part of the map you would like to teleport to, and then hover your mouse over it, what you will see on the right, just above the layers section, okay, is a little sort of greyed out box. I'll see if I can highlight it for you here. And what that's doing is that's telling us the X and Y position of our mouse, okay? So what we need to do is we need to state this X and Y position in our character script so that we can say where on the map our character is going. Now, one thing that I would recommend is, so at the moment my mouse is hovered, I'm not sure if you can see on the screens, but my mouse is hovered right above the ground where I'd like the playable character to go. Now, what I would recommend for this is that you set your Y position to being ever so slightly higher, because what you'll find is that if you set it to being directly onto the area where you would like to fall, you will just clip through the floor and continue to fall, and you'll just keep falling through the floor. So one thing that I would recommend is that you actually set your Y position to being slightly higher, okay, which means that the number will be less. So you can keep your X position in the same place. So in my case here, I'm setting mine to being X 1200, and I'm going to set my Y to being 600, so that I'm essentially going to be slightly higher up than what the actual ground level is, because otherwise you might find, like I said, that you fall through the floor, okay? So I'm going to go with that, back to my character script, and once it loads in, I'm going to change my X position to being 1200 and my Y position to being 600. Now, it is sometimes a little bit hit and miss. Sometimes you do have to play about with it a little bit in order to try and determine sort of where the exact position you need to go to is. But if I hit the play button now, you should find out, you should see that when I walk into that obstacle, into the teleporter, that I get transported to the location that I chose a second ago. So there we go. So I've now gone from where the eggs are here to being where I needed to teleport to. Okay. So it is a little bit trial and error in terms of where, in terms of sort of where you need to position your playable character to go to. But I would recommend that you always set the Y position to being ever so slightly higher than the ground level, so that you don't clip through the floor and just keep falling and end up having to restart the level again. How's everybody finding that so far? Has anyone got any questions, or is that working out for everybody? Okay, perfect. That's good, Oliver, that you fixed the bullet. Oh, okay, fair enough. That's fine, yeah, that happens. I will have a look quickly for you this. Bear with me 1 second and I will find out for you. 1 second. Fierce, do you want to post a screenshot back in the chat for us to find out, so I can just see which block you mean? And that's all right, Jack. Don't worry. This will all be up on. If you need to catch up, it'll all be up on YouTube anyway, so you can catch up afterwards. It's no problem. Yeah, it's a pain, isn't it? Yes, if you just when you get a chance, pop a screenshot up in Discord of what part you're stuck on with the ladder, and I'll take a look at it for you, and hopefully we'll be able to find the solution. So what we'll do in the meantime. Oh right, okay. Oh, so you're looking for it on that equivalent on game 3. I see. I want the ladder to go behind the player. Okay. Good question. Okay, that's a good question. Let me just spend a minute taking a quick look, and I'll see if I can find something.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. That's good. Good.
Yeah. I want to phrase that it's really unpredictable. It's brilliant one time, then right. The other. We really don't have super fast here.
No.
Use like hubs. They're like my side devices, but they're like more.
Okay.
And we have the Tyson has like just to
Okay.
really hard, especially when it's time.
Okay, so for this, from what I've seen just by having a quick look at what's on GameFruit now, I'm not too sure if there's anything that's actually sort of identical to that on actual GameFruit. You could try from the sensing menu. If you scroll down to where it says instance detection, you might be able to use something that's in there, but I'm not 100% sure without sort of without looking sort of further into it. If you try something from in there, just kind of let me know if you manage to get it to work, and then if you don't, then we'll try and think of something else. Okay. So what we're going to do in the meantime is we're actually going to add in a couple of levels to our game now. So surprisingly, there actually isn't that much code to doing this. So we should do, so it's nice and easy. It's only a couple of blocks, but it just adds quite a lot to the game really, because it offers an opportunity to have different levels, and also have a way to actually end the game as well. So if you get hit by the NPC, or if you land on some spikes or something like that, you can actually go to a game over screen. So what we're going to do to start off with is you'll find that up at the top of the screen you'll see this number 1 symbol, okay? And what you'll also see is that it says level -3. I'm not sure why it says level -3 when this is the first level in the game, but what we're going to do, we're going to rename all of these in a second anyway. So what I'd like you to do is add a total of 3 new levels to the game, okay? So add 3 blank levels to the game so that you end up with 4 in total, okay? And once you've done that, I'd like you to go over to the levels menu here so that you can see a breakdown of all of your levels as blocks, okay? So just give everyone a minute to do that, and then we'll start doing some reshuffling. So like I said, we're going to need 4 levels in total at the moment. Okay.
You know, you said we were going to do the levels, yeah?
Yeah.
One problem. Still with the flagpole, I can't get past the NPC for some reason.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Well, what we can do is we can still, you can position things like if you wanted to test to make sure that it was working, you can put sort of like the trophy or the, you know, like the end of sort of like the end of game object type thing at the end of the level. You could put that just before the NPC, so that way you can, until you sort of get it fixed up, you can still test to make sure that it's working.
Or place it right at the start next to your character.
Yeah, or you could do that as well. So it's just so that you can test it, and then once you've managed to find a way to get past the NPC, you could then move it to being somewhere else. Okay, so like I said, we're going to have these 4 new levels, and we need to change the order of these around a little bit so that we end up having them so that they're in like a set order, okay? So what we're going to do is, I know that they're all kind of in a bit of a strange order at the moment, and things are kind of have all got all sorts of names. We've got maybe 2 level 3s, a level 2 and a level 4. So what we'll do to start off with is we'll actually change the name of them, okay? So the one that you'll see that's actually called level -3, which is the first one in your list, that one is actually the first level of your actual game. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on this little cog symbol, and we're going to change that to being called level -1. Okay. So now what you'll find is that this level is now level 1. Okay. And what we're going to do, we're going to do the same thing with the other 3 levels. So I'm going to make level 2 my main menu. I'm going to make the 3rd level the You Win screen. So I'm just going to call it You Win screen. And then I'm going to make the 4th one the Game Over screen. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're just saying that these levels, we now know exactly what they are, and this is very similar in a way to the way that you comment code. So the way that you can add comments to your code as you're building it, just so that you know exactly what's doing what. And as I mentioned before, commenting is a really important part of programming, so that you can actually remind yourself what different bits of code are actually doing. So, like I said, once you've renamed these levels, what we have to do with them is reposition them so that they're in an order that sort of makes sense. So what we can do is, we obviously don't want our main menu to come after the first level, so you can click and drag the levels around a little bit so that they're now in a more logical order. So we're going to start off with our main menu. We're then going to move into the main level. Then we're going to, if we win an object, we're going to go to the You Win screen. Or when we reach the end of the level, we're going to go to the You Win screen. And if we end up being hit by the NPC, or if we land on some spikes or something like that, we can go to the Game Over screen. Okay. Now, if you wanted to add several levels to your game so that you had level 2, level 3 and things like that, you would just need to follow the same principle where you reorganize the order that the levels are actually in. So if you wanted to add level 2 to your game, you would put that after level 1 and before the you win screen, so that you would have one sort of in the middle here, okay? So that's the sort of thing, that's what we would need to do first of all. Does anyone have any questions about that so far, or is everybody okay? Perfect, Jack, thank you. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be resizing the screen. So at the moment, you'll see that if you're currently on the main first level of your game, it's really, really big, isn't it? You know, it goes way beyond the scope of the of where your map is, and it kind of goes on and on and on forever. So what we're actually going to do is, for these menu screens, we're actually just going to resize them a little bit. Now, resizing them can be done by clicking on the little cog icon, and then you can edit these X and Y values so that you can change them to being a set size, okay? Now, the size that I recommend you choose is 960 for X and 540 for Y, okay? But a lot of it is purely subjective to the size of the screen that you've got and things like that. And if you want to see how big the actual play sort of is, you can go into game settings, and you'll see here that where it says game size, you'll actually see that it has a resolution width and a resolution height section down at the bottom here. And what those are telling you is essentially is how large the game will appear sort of on your screen, so to speak, okay? So what you can do is you can actually set them to being that size, or you can set them to being 960 by 540. However, one thing to bear in mind, so I'll set mine to being the same thing as what it's recommending me to. One thing to bear in mind is that you might find that once you load your game up, things are a little bit off-centered and appear sort of slightly further apart than what they should be. So what we can do to fix that is just adjust the screen size, or you can just reposition where your graphics are on the screen, as I'll show you in just a second, okay? So we need to do this resizing with the main menu, the you win screen, and the game over screen, okay? But naturally you don't have to do it with the first level of the game, because the first level of the game is going to be really, really big to accommodate all of the map, okay? So just change the main menu, the you win screen, and the game over screen to being a set value, so that way they appear sort of slightly smaller, okay? Okay. So once you've got round to doing that, you can now have spend some time actually designing how you would like your main menu, you win screen, and game over screens to look, okay? So if you head back over to the media section, you can choose a different background. So for example, for my main menu screen, I'm going to set up, and don't worry if it's slightly bigger than the size of your window, okay? It doesn't matter. I'm going to choose this blue background. And if you scroll down through the media menu to the interface section, you'll actually find that there are a series of different backgrounds and things that you can use that are specific to you win and game over. So on my main menu screen, for an example, I'm just going to put in this button here, okay? Over on my You Win screen, I'm going to use the big You Win graphic and the You Win sort of green button. And then on the Game Over screen, I'm going to use the Game Overs graphic and I'm going to use the red button, okay? So they've already got a couple of graphics in there that you can use, and like I said, they're located in the interface section. And if you pop those onto your respective levels, you should then find that you've got a series of backgrounds as well as a few buttons. Now these can all go onto the same layer, okay? You don't have to have multiple different layers for this. They can all go onto the same layer and just decorate them sort of in any way that you would that you want to, okay? So I'll give you all a little bit of time to do that, and then what we'll do in a second is we'll move on to adding in the scripts for these. And that, like I said, there isn't that much to go through with it, so we'll go through it in a second, okay? So, has anybody got any questions about that so far, or is that all okay? Super. So like I said, I'll just give everybody a few minutes to design their different screens up, and then we'll carry on.
Also, probably a good point to note here is if you go back to the level settings, that you can set the background of the level as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you didn't want to use one of the backdrops that they've sort of recommended, you can just go back to that levels menu, like Andrew said, click on the cog symbol again, and there's actually an option for you to choose the background color. So you can adjust that on there as well. So that's something else that you can do. So for an example, I'm going to make my You Win screen. I'll give it a green background. There we go. And then I'm going to give my Game Over screen a red background. There we go. So lots of different things that you can do to kind of design the game to make things look a bit different.
Looks cool now.
There's as well, one thing that I think is quite important to point out is if you are adjusting the background color, actually gives you the hex code. So hex code, for those of you who haven't come across it before, is essentially like a color code. So every sort of different type of code that you, every single sort of color, sorry, that you come across can be defined by what's known as a hex code. So you'll see that it starts with like a hashtag, hash symbol, and then there's just a whole bunch of letters and numbers. And essentially that's known as the hex code. And the hex codes are really, really useful in things like web design. So if you are using things like CSS or something like that to build up like a website, you can use these hex codes as a way of like choosing, say, the colors of fonts, colors of backgrounds, things like that. And they're really, really handy for that sort of thing. So that's just like a little side note there for you to have. How would you make a scrolling background for the main menu? So you can do this. Do you mean like so that you would have like you'd be able to sort of move around in the main menu type thing, like as a playable character, or do you mean sort of like have it scrolling across the screen continuously? Because I'm not sure how you do that without maybe sort of looking into it a little bit. but I can certainly find a solution for that for you and let you know. So how would you like it? Like sort of have it like scrolling across the screen type thing continuously?
Those like old arcade games that we had like the background was like falling things, so it looked like it was falling, but it would eat it back.
Okay.
So it could be something like set background, and it repeats where it's moving the Y position slowly. Yeah,
that's it. That's what I was thinking. So we can have a look into that for you first. Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Sure, okay. Well, yeah, I can take a look into that for you first, and I'll try and get something posted in Discord for you after the live stream today to let you know. Jack, I will have a look at your website, Jack, later on. If you repost the link sort of later on, I'll have a look for you. So I'll just make a note of that first, just so I remember to have a look. No worries, Jack. Thank you for joining. Okay, so has everybody had enough time to design up their backgrounds and things like that? Does anyone want a bit more time, or is everybody happy? Okay, super. So if you head on over back to the main menu again, what we're going to do is we're going to add a script to our main menu, which essentially says that when we click on it, it's going to take us through to the next level, okay? So if you all right-click on the button and add a script, we're going to get another one of our blank script screens, and we're only going to be adding in 2 blocks of code, okay? So we're going to take a block from the events section, which is when stage is pressed. Whoops. So when the stage is pressed. And then from control flow, we're going to use that go to block, okay? Now, if you wanted to, you can have it set to go to next level, okay? But one thing that's kind of recommended, I suppose, that you can do is you can actually change it so that you've got, instead of go to next level, you can actually say exactly which level you would like it to go to. So if you pull out go to next level, go to the operators menu, and just choose one of the little numeric operators here, you can actually specify exactly which level you would like it to go to. So, of course, we would like it to go straight into our first level once the game starts. So you can change that to go to 2, and then what that'll do then is it will automatically take you straight to level 2 when the stage is pressed. Now, by allocating it to when stage is pressed, it means that you can actually click anywhere on the screen for it to work, okay? So it doesn't necessarily just have to be the button itself. You can click anywhere on the screen and it's going to take you through to the next level. So if I hit play on that now, and I save this as main menu, okay? Hit save. When the game loads, what we should see is I'm brought in. You can see that mine is slightly off center, so it does take a little bit of jiggling around to sort of find out where exactly the positioning of things is, okay? But if you click on that, I'm taken through to the start of my next level, okay? So is everybody happy with that? Has anyone got any questions about that, or are we okay? Okay, super. It's not too bad, this part, really, is it? It's just a nice sort of small bit of code there that adds quite a lot to the game, really. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to add very, very, very similar script, but to our end of our U-in and game over screens, okay? So if you head over to either the U-in or game over screen, it doesn't matter which one, and you right-click again on the button and add a script, we're going to just change the script a little bit. So this time we're going to say when the stage is pressed, we can actually keep this go to section as being pretty much the same, but we're going to change it to go to first level. And the reason that we're going to change that is that, of course, if we get to the winning screen, or if we get to the game over screen, we want us to be able to go back to the first level of the game again so that we can start over. So you can actually set it to go to first level, and it will just take you back straight to the start again. Okay. And we can actually, good question for this. There is a character builder that you can use. I'll see if I can find that in just a second, actually. And you might be able to animate it yourself as well. There should be a way of doing that. I'll go through that with you in a second.
You could create your own characters outside Game Fruit. You'd have to have a transparent background in the PNGs, and that way you can animate them, import that as a pack, and then you would have them in Game Fruit.
There you go. So, as Andrew said, you can design them outside of Game Fruit, make sure that they've got a plain sort of colourless background so that it's see-through, and then import that into Game Fruit as a pack, and then you can have your own sprite in the on Game Fruit then as well.
Having a look at what they have like an animator editor.
Yeah, so they have got.
They have a character creator, so you can bring elements of the head, the body, the legs, and the arms together, so you can create your character there. And then, yeah, upload media, so creating it off Game Fruit and then uploading it into the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a way of, so it's up to you for this in a way. You can create it sort of outside of Game Fruit and then import it in, or you can use their kind of inbuilt character creator if you wanted to make your own sprite, okay? So, super. So what we're going to do is close down this script, hit save, and I'm going to save, because the script that we've got here is essentially going to be the same script for both the you win and game over screens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call mine game over and you win screen, okay? Because what we can do is it's been assigned, as you can see now, to my you win screen. And if I go to the game over screen, go to the code menu, and then choose the game over and you win code, and assign that to the button on the game over screen, both of those now are going to take us back to that main menu again, okay? Now, so far, if we load the game up, you'll see, hopefully, that if I land on some spikes, nothing happens. So we can fix that in our character script, and the same thing happens. As you can see, we haven't actually set in a trophy object yet. So there's a couple of bits and pieces that we need to fix in order to get it to work, and we'll cover those in a second. So now that we've got that working, we need to actually go back to our main level again. So if we all load back up our main levels, we need to choose an object to act as our trophy. Okay, so act as something that will actually let us complete the level. So down in the part of the game that's going to sort of be the last part of the level, you can pick an object, again from this media menu, that's going to act as your trophy. So I'm going to choose this object. Okay, again, it's entirely up to you what you choose. And I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to add a script. And all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a tag when it's created, which is essentially going to say that it's going to act as the trophy. Okay, so I'm going to say when created, then go into sensing, and I'm going to say add tag name on myself, and I'm going to call it, it's entirely up to you, you can call it you win, you can call it trophy, it's entirely up to you what you call it, okay? Just as long as it's something that's associated with winning the game, okay? So once you've got that part done, you can close that script, save it as, you can save it as, like I said, you could save it as trophy, you could save it as you win, okay? It's entirely up to you what you call it. And then we can go back to the character script once again after we've done that. And it's on here that we're going to say what happens when we collect that object, okay? So, back on the character script again, we once again need to add another one of our if statements here, which is essentially going to say what happens if instance toucher has the tag name of whatever you've called your trophy object, okay? So once again, I'm going to go back to control flow, I'm going to get a new if statement and duplicate another one of these if instance toucher has tag name blocks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change teleporter 1 to being whatever I've just called my trophy object. So I've called it, in this case, you win. Okay. And of course, what I would like to happen when I manage to get, reach that trophy object is I'd like to move on to the next level. So to do that, we can go to control flow and choose go to next level. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could change that so that it's being set to a specific value. So you could say, okay, I'm going to move on now to level 3, or I'm going to move on now to level 4. However, what you want, it's a good idea, in my opinion, to keep it as next level, because in the case of our games now, we've only have one level, which means that if we do reach that trophy object, it's going to mean that we move on to the you win screen. But if we, for an example, had several levels in the game, and we wanted to move on to the next level in the game, what we would need to do is we would need to say, we would need to keep changing the value that's in there. We'd have to change the value that's in there to sort of being whatever number that level is, so to speak. So it's just easier to really keep it as go to next level, okay? Now, like I said a second ago, I was landing on some spikes and I actually wasn't going anywhere. I was just getting set back to the start of the level again. And the reason that that is happening is because at the moment, up here in the when the animation dying has looped block, it's currently saying that we need to go back as soon as the dying animation is completed playing to the current level again. And of course, we don't want to be going back to our current level. We want to be going to the game over screen. So all we need to do is swap out this current level block with another one of our operators that outlines pretty much exactly which level we're going to. So I'm going to say that we're going to level 4 because that's going to be my game over screen. Okay. So hitting play now, we should find, once the game loads in, that once I hit start, if I land on the spikes, the dying animation plays and I get taken to my game over screen. I hit start on the game over screen, I get brought back to the main menu. If I now run through the game and get right the way through to the, so here's my teleporter, I'll get through to where my NPC is, so I'm going to wait for him to go the other way so I can do a little bit of a sneak attack. I'm going to destroy the NPC. The NPC still managed to get me, surprise, typical. We'll start again. So that's one thing to bear in mind actually, is that the NPC's ghost can still come after you, so make sure that you do stay hidden. So I'm going to go right the way through, and again it's got me. I am not very good with this, am I? This is not going too well for me.
need a teleporter to the end of the game, I think.
I think that would be easier. I think that would be easier. Here we go. Hope for the best. Here we go. Right, here we go. At last. So we should find now that once I reach my trophy, I'm at the you win screen, okay? And hitting start on here takes me back to that main menu again. So I know that part was a little bit fast-paced. So has everybody managed to keep up okay with that? Does anyone have any questions? Anybody want me to go back to a certain bit of code that maybe they weren't sure of or that I went through a bit too quickly? Just let me know. Is everybody okay with that so far? I know it's that part there was quite a lot of small bits of code to add into different places there, so I know it's a little bit could be a little bit quick to keep up, hard to keep up. Okay. So what we're going to do for the rest of the stream now, so we've got half an hour left, and like I said, since this is the last session that we're going to be doing on Game Fruit, Andrew and I thought it'd be a nice idea if we all had an opportunity to sort of play on the games that we've all been working on over the last couple of weeks. And then in addition to that, if anybody sort of has any questions on sort of like, you know, let's just say ways that we can maybe fix the games up a little bit, maybe something isn't quite working as you'd expect, you know, things like that. Then you can just post any questions you've got in Discord, and we can try and fix those for you, and I'll sort of work through them to fix them for you. But we thought that it would be a nice kind of opportunity now for us all to sort of have a bit of a last half an hour of, you know, sort of free time, just so that we can kind of see how everybody's been sort of getting on over the last few weeks, because we've been doing this now for it's been almost 7 weeks on Game Fruit now, so you've all done sort of really, really well. You've all, you know, you've learned a lot of new stuff. You know, we've built up some really, really complicated scripts, so you've all done incredibly well, and you've all worked really, really hard in order to sort of get to this stage. So you should all be really proud of yourselves, really, for the work that you've been doing over the last few weeks. So even if you've taken my script today and sort of added to it, that's absolutely fine. You know, we'd still kind of like to see sort of what you've been getting up to if you've edited it in a little bit in some way. So if you want to post us the remix links of your games in Discord, or post us the file, we can import them onto our machines, and then we'll sort of have a little bit of a play around with them. So I think that's what we're going to do now for the rest of the session. If anybody does have any questions, let us know. But for the sort of like the last half an hour now, I think it'll just be a chance for us to see what we've been working on.
And see if you can complete your friend's game.
That's the plan, yeah. So let's see if we can sort of...
see how hard they've made it.
Yeah. So what I will do is I will get a version of my game popped up in Discord as well, actually. So the game that I've put up in Discord now is a completed version of a game that I've sort of worked on over the last few weeks. So it does contain a lot of the code that you need for things like the character selector and also the ladders and things like that. So if any of you did need to use any of that code, then you can do. That's absolutely fine. You sort of feel free to use it. I'll load it up on my screen now.
I'm going to try and complete your game now then.
I don't think I've made it I don't think I've even made it that hard, actually. Also, you can use this as an opportunity if you are like to sort of finish off your games, you know, add any new sort of additional segments that you'd like to add, things like that. You know, it's entirely up to you. My game through has crashed, so it's not going well over here. There we go. Yes, Andrew.
The teleport worked very well.
My teleporter doesn't work very well. Yeah, I think it can be a little bit finicky.
It teleported me underneath.
Yeah, it does do that sometimes. This is what I mean about having to have having to have it set to slightly higher, because otherwise you just end up just falling through the floor. Let me, oh yeah, I see. Yeah, so like I said, everyone is sort of free to, like I said, the version of the game that I've posted up in Discord now is sort of like a fully completed version with all of the different concepts and stuff that, you know, a few bits and pieces that we maybe haven't covered. So, you know, you are free to use those and sort of have a look at the code that's in them and use that code as a way of completing sort of your games. I will have a look this week at different ways that we can have that background continuously scrolling. There should be a way of doing it that's actually quite that's quite easily doable. But we'll have a look. I'll have a look into that for you as well. Also, in case any of you were thinking, in case any of you wanted a little sort of activity to do sort of during the week or something, over on the Technoclub's website, I'll post a link in the Discord in a second. I've actually made a Game Fruit activity pack, which covers different sort of, it uses something called simulation modeling to essentially, well, basically it shows you how by like staying at home and things like that, we can kind of like prevent the spread of the coronavirus, and how sort of like you can stay at home and how it can sort of help you to you know, stop it from getting from person to person. So Andrew's put the link up in Discord now, so if any of you wanted to have a look at that, feel free. There is like a couple of Game Fruit demos on there as well. First, thank you for sharing your game. I'm going to open it up on my computer now.
How does the game race?
Just having a go on it now, please. Ah, thank you, Oliver. We'll have a go on yours in a second. I'm just playing my way through this game. So far, I am very, very impressed.
Just for it's at the end, you know, like Dad mentioned about the teleporter. Teleports you slightly below.
Yeah, so all you need to do to fix that, Chris, is, like I said, just have your... set the Y value to being slightly lower. So set the Y value to being a little bit lower. And that should do it. I like how you've got the ladder to work as well. That's really impressive, because that was quite difficult to get working, so well done with that.
Y higher, don't you? The teleporter.
What was that? Sorry, Andrew.
Set the Y higher for the teleporter, right?
It's because it's up. It needs to be lower. Yeah, it's a bit backwards. If you get that fixed up, Chris, that's a fantastic game. Like, really well done. Like, there's loads of stuff in here that's really quite hard to get working. So, you know, really well done. It didn't save? Oh no. Well, hang on. You posted a version of it earlier on in the chat, Chris. If you go back through the chat a little bit, you might have to add a few bits and pieces.
This has been the frustrating bit with Game Fruit.
Yeah, this is just one of the issues with Game Fruit, unfortunately. So there is a version of a game on here for this from 4:30, so that was an hour ago. So we didn't really cover a huge amount of stuff. We only really added in the new levels in that time. So you might be able to use that. But I know what you mean, it is really frustrating. I'm just having a go on yours now, Oliver.
It's hard.
Is it hard? I'm just having a go. Oh, I like how you've got the health variable up there as well, Oliver. That's really, really good work. Well done.
Oliver, was there meant to be bullets? Or some kind of weapon?
If there was, Oliver, we can help you fix that, no problem.
Control. It's not spacebar, Dan, it's control.
Ah, okay. It's okay, Oliver. Don't worry. We couldn't figure out how to fire the your projectiles, but we've got it now. No problem.
And when you're playing a game, you're determined to finish the game.
Yes, that is currently what I'm doing. This is also a really good game, Oliver. Well done.
Oliver, just one thing I noticed then, this was a problem from last week, with the bullets, instead of set position of myself to 1 and 1 and so on, set scale of myself to 1 and so on. Because if you play a game, if you look left, you'll notice the bullet is behind you, which is the problem we were having last week. And determined to so good though.
Yeah, Fizz and Oliver, these games are fantastic, really well done. Like, really, really well done.
Puts your game to shame, Dan.
It does. It really does. It does put my game to shame. My ladder doesn't even go anywhere.
I like how
Yeah, that's really, really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, both these games are absolutely fantastic. I am determined to finish this game. However, I will have a quick go on Alex's first. Thank you, Alex. I will have a go on yours now. 0 on numpad. Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, super. That first part, Alex, with all those spikes is very, very difficult. Oh no. Oh, it was a trap the whole time, that bit. It took me straight to an NPC, and I got I couldn't get it, and I got taken to a game over screen. I fell for the same thing again.
what would you all like to see next time with Technoclub? Since we're going to be finishing with game through this, we've got like Minecraft we could do. We could do some 3D modeling, 3D design. Python maybe.
Yeah, we were done. Please, you fancy doing Minecraft? Okay, cool.
Do we all have hub accounts? Do you all know your hub accounts, maybe?
Okay, that's fine, Fizz. So how's everybody else? In order for us to be able to hold sort of sessions on Minecraft, we do need to have, everybody does need to have access to hub accounts. So that's the only problem that we might have.
You all have hub accounts, it's just we all know the hub accounts.
And Alex, have you managed to get it to log in okay? Ah, okay, so Minecraft education because you've got a Chromebook, okay. And you've managed to get in, okay, Alex, okay. Okay, so so you can definitely still have access in some way, Oliver? As long as everybody can sort of access it in some way, that's the main thing. Okay, so Fizz, you can access it. Alex, you can access it. Oliver, you can access it. Okay. Okay, super. Okay.
I think I sent a link earlier. I'll resend it now.
Yeah, so I am very, very new to... oh, that's pretty neat, Oliver, that you got to do that from school. That's really cool. So I'm very, very new to Minecraft. So I'm still trying to come to terms with it, but I really like it. I think it's really cool. Okay. So everybody should be able to access Minecraft then, and should be able to obtain access to it. But remember, it's Minecraft Education that we'll be using, not normal Minecraft. Everybody should be able to access it in some way.
You need a Windows, a Mac, or an iOS, iPad.
Super. Okay, so Alex is absolutely fine. I think everybody else seems fine. Okay, super. So that's definitely something that we'll start thinking about moving on to then. So as I said, what it'll be is we'll aim hopefully to start it maybe next week. But if it's not next week, then it'll be sort of like the week after. But we can do something, if on the off chance that we can't get it ready by next week, we'll just do something different next week, and then the week after we can use Minecraft. But like I said, we'll aim to hopefully be able to start with Minecraft Education next week, if everyone's happy with that. Like I said, these are your sessions, so we would like to do things that we want to be able to do things that you would like to do, sort of thing. So if you're all happy, then that's definitely something that we'll look at doing. In the meantime, I'm going to have another go at trying to complete Oliver's game.
Hopefully with Minecraft we won't get these problems.
What was that, sorry, Andrew?
Hopefully with Minecraft we won't get any problems where games are not being saved.
Yeah, hopefully it'll yeah, hopefully it should all be okay with Minecraft. Gamefruit, there's still a lot of different bits and pieces, I think, going on with the development of Gamefruit, so that's why we found a couple of problems here and there. But like I said, we should be hopefully with Minecraft it'll be okay. I am still trying to beat your game here, Oliver, and it is very, very good. Okay, so like I said, we're coming up to like the last couple of minutes now of the session. In regards to Game Fruit, has anybody got any other questions or anything that they might feel like they want to add to their games that they would like me to kind of look up how to do? So I know Fierce wants to have a scrolling background for the main menu. Does anybody want me to maybe have a look into other stuff that we can do?
I like saying that flying characters.
Oh, flying characters.
Maybe that's what he means by it again.
Yeah. I see.
Have you all enjoyed this series of tutorials on Game? Is it something you've done before?
Well, I'm glad that you've all enjoyed it. It's been really good fun having a chance to sort of teach Game Fruit and things like that. It was new to me as well, sort of before the live streams. So it's really so I'm glad that you've all managed to sort of enjoy it, and you've built, like I said, you've all built up some really, really incredible games. You know, really, really fantastic work. Way better than what I've produced. So you know, you should all be really proud of yourselves. So as I mentioned earlier, I think what we'll do is I'll take a look into a few things. If anybody does want to add to their games over the coming weeks, and they find that there's something that they're stuck on and that they would like help with, like I said, remember to sort of let me know. Also, as I was saying with regards to sort of like the plan of where we're going to go with sessions now, since this is the last one on Game Fruit, I think what we'll do is we'll look at Hopefully next week will be Minecraft. If it's not next week, then it will be the week after. And then what we'll do is next week, if we haven't got Minecraft ready, we'll do something like, you know, like a little activity, sort of next week, just whilst Andrew and I are sort of preparing Minecraft sessions, and then otherwise next week will be Minecraft, and we'll move into that one from next week. So I think that's where we'll go with things from here on out. Is everybody okay with that? Anybody wants us to do anything differently, or is everybody happy with that? Super. That's good. Nice. So Minecraft should be really fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a look into doing different things, and we'll let you all know how it's going to work and things a little bit nearer the time, once we have a bit more of an idea of how we're going to run it. We'll let you all know sort of how it's going to work and that once we get round to once we've got it all planned out. But other than that, there are some really fun GIFs coming through on my screen at the moment. They are quite fantastic, actually. I'm afraid it has, Alex. You're right. It has just become a GIF war. It's okay. So I think what we'll do then is we'll leave things off there for today. Feel free to continue with the if you want to keep posting the GIFs in, that's fine. It is very funny to sort of watch. So like I said, we'll let you all know what's going to be happening next week. We'll let you all know what's going to be going on next week with regards to the session and things like that. But it will more than likely be held at the usual time anyway, between 4 and 6. So we'll just let you all know in advance what's going to happen. So what I'll do, Andrew, I'll just stop the stream now, okay?